Okay. We are live, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of Murraysville Council. If everyone could please come to order, we're now going to have a roll call vote. Thank you.
Mr. McKenna?
Here.
Mr. Stepanovich?
Here.
Mrs. Ling?
Present.
Mr. Lemak?
Here.
Dr. Lee Corns?
Here.
Mr. Dice?
Here.
Mr. Spadero?
Here.
Mayor Sinan?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Mr. Nestico, do we have any unlisted amendments this evening?
There would only be one amendment to the agenda, and that would be relative to item 13A, the ordinance for the oil and gas lease at Duff Park. When we get to that moment in the agenda, I will update the parcel numbers. They are incorrectly listed. The municipality would not be leasing or considering a lease for all of those parcel numbers.
Okay.
That would be the only amendment this evening.
All right, wonderful, thank you. That brings us to our consent calendar items, which are only the November 15th minutes. Any questions or concerns about the minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from the November 15th meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Jamie and Mac. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. It is unanimous. That brings us to comments by the mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Dice. First off is the last curb leaf collection is coming up on Saturday, December 9th. Republic Services will conduct municipal-wide sweeps to collect leaves and yard waste. To schedule a pickup, and you must schedule a pickup on these dates, please fill out the curbside leaf collection program form on the municipal website. It's under us and select forms, permits, and maps. There's a 20-bag limit each collection date. The deadline to sign up for each date is the Thursday before pickup date. Again, Saturday, December 9th. Next, Duff Park closures. The bridges are going to be closed from November 20th until January the 1st because they're being replaced. Please do not go near or mess around them. Stay away from them. If you have any questions, call our Municipal Engineering Department at extension 114. Murraysville Recreation's Hot Chocolate Hike. Finish the hike with a cup of hot chocolate. The next one's Saturday, December 16th at Tomer Reserve. Time is 10 a.m. Just show up if you'd like to participate. Next is the reading of the Polar Express and a visit from St. Nicholas. Friday, December 8th at 7 p.m. Saturday, December 9th at 9 p.m. Both are at the Community Center, 3091 Carson Avenue, Murraysville. Registration is still open through our Recreation Department. Next, I'm very proud to announce that tomorrow, the Franklin Regional High School Marching Band is in Hawaii for the Pearl Harbor Memorial Parade. It starts at 4 p.m. Hawaiian time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if you would be lucky enough to find it on YouTube or something. You might have to search around. One other note, most of you are familiar how active our Rotary Club is in the community. On a sad note, the Rotary Club lost two longtime members this past week, Jim Walco and Pat Schaefer, both extremely active members. Jim joined the Rotary in 1959. Pat joined as soon as women were permitted to join, but since her husband had been a member many years before that, she had been active all those years also. As a community, we mourn the loss of these two outstanding members of our community. Rest in peace and thank you. That concludes my comments, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Sinan. That brings us to comments by the Chief Administrator.
No comments for this evening.
Okay. This brings us to community input, where any member of the community can say whatever they like, so long as it is 3 minutes or less. Okay, I will note we have a lot of takers tonight, so normally when I say 3 minutes, we're pretty liberal with that. Tonight will probably be closer to 3 minutes, so if anybody wants to be sure that they get their entire thought in, please maybe just use your phone as a stopwatch or something like that. So with that being said, we'll begin with the first name on the list, Mr. Ron Wolf. And please just give your name and address for the record, sir.
Ron Wolf, 3644 Forbes Trail Drive, Murraysville, PA. I'm here again to speak about the sewer line on Haymaker Run, which has been collapsing for years. We're getting like half patchwork done, allegedly. They're supposedly going to reline a line that's terracotta, and I don't know how you can reline a line that's collapsing in on itself. Other municipalities have been applying for infrastructure money. They're getting it. They're doing their repairs. FITSMA hasn't applied for a dime from the infrastructure money that I'm aware of. And I believe this money is going back to the federal government at the end of the year. So I have no idea what the holdup is. And one of the things I want them to do is come here, show the filming that they did with camera work on that line to show the people how bad it is. It was declared bad in the 90s that it need replaced, and it's still not replaced. And as of October 29th, sewage overflowed at Heather Drive and Forbes Trail Road and went into the sewer down into the creek. And it's happened repeatedly, and nothing's being done about it. They put a locking lid on the sewer in my yard, so now it's across the street in the neighbor's yard. That's not a fix to me. And here's an article from the Trib from October 31st that the Sylvan Park area applied for their money to fix their overflow problem. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, sir. You just give that to Wes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm leaving on that note.
Take care, sir.
Thank you for your service.
All right, that brings us to the next name on the list, Mr. Steve Parker.
Stephen Parker. I live in Export.
Sir, when you say export, you mean Murraysville, correct? It's just an export address?
15632.
Okay, thank you.
I come to you as not as a concerned parent, but as a scandalized and angry parent who enjoys the outdoors and is determined to safeguard the safety of my children when they go to the Murraysville Community Park and to Duff Park, which are beautiful places. If you were entertaining bids from a swing set company that proposed to install swing sets at your park, and that company had 807 violations of of consumer protection laws, would you go ahead and say, damn, go ahead. You're the highest bidder. Go ahead. Put in the swing sets. We're talking about putting children's safety, health, not only children's, but people who live in Murraysville who come to the parks to enjoy the outdoors. We are talking not just about the possibility, but the likelihood of those toxic chemicals that this company, Olympus Energy, proposes to inject below the surface into these parks, which in all likelihood, given all the evidence, it's all public record, will reach the surface of those parks and will reach the waterways of those parks. I pay taxes here. I pay a good amount of taxes for the local government. The local government, all of you have sworn to uphold the right of the people to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. That's what I expect as a citizen, as a parent, and as a taxpayer. Finally, when I enjoy these parks, I go there because they're set aside for the purpose for families to enjoy nature. Nature undisturbed. Nature set aside for the enjoyment of the citizens of Marysville. Look up the word sacred in the dictionary. Why did Jesus chase the moneylenders out of the temple? Because that was a sacred place. Well, another definition, look it up, of sacred is a place that's set aside for a specific purpose. These parks are set aside for the purpose of enjoyment of nature, undisturbed. They're not set aside for commercial purposes. They're not set aside for industrial use. Not till now. I am very disappointed. Look at the monuments people have put there to their loved ones. I jogged by one. It's a bench dedicated to a young man who died very young, 19, I think, when you enter Duff Park. Do you think, and there's also many plaques in Marysville, they're in the ground by the baseball diamond that was put there by people who are concerned for handicapped people? Handicapped people use that baseball diamond? Look at the plaques that people have put there, dedicated to their loved ones they've lost, dedicated to the parks. Do you think that those people that dedicated those plaques and monuments would be very pleased to know that those parks are no longer set aside as parks? But underneath the surface,
Sir, could you please finish your sentence?
yes, I will.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Underneath the surface, there are toxic chemicals, and there could be seismic activity, and they are no longer set aside.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to Darlene Leslie. Evening.
My name is Darlene Leslie, and I live at 3025 Pleasant Valley Road. I've lived in Murraysville for over 40 years. I'm a board member of Protect PT, and I've been a member for 8 years. I grew up in an agricultural area, and we moved to Murraysville because of their great schools and the parks. The parks have increased during my time to include PV Park and our new community park, and it didn't take me long to get into these parks. We received a call at Protect PT in regards to a well located at the nature portion of the new community park by a concerned citizen. We have friends in a nonprofit organization called Earthworks, and we were surveying for leaking gas sites in Allegheny and parts of Westmoreland County at the time. Earthworks has this very expensive camera that can film gas leaks, which our eyes can't see. Lo and behold, well was leaking in our new community park. With that, we continued on to Boyce Park, where we didn't have to hike long before we could smell the gas. This well had the odor in it, so you could smell it. Earthworks, and we had to turn around because the smell of gas was so bad. And then Earthworks actually put gas masks on to be close enough to film the well, and it had an extreme leak. So what we did was we sent these reports to the DEP. And this was at a time when Allegheny County was voting on whether to have fracking in and around their parks. The information that we sent them was instrumental on their vote, was just say no. If you allow fracking around our parks, are you going to monitor the air quality within those parks? Or are you going to monitor the air at the fracking sites as our community? Are you going to monitor it? Or are you going to let the fox monitor the hen house? Do you know how many abandoned wells that we have in our community? Does anyone know that? We continue to have Turtle Creek polluted in the Murraysville area. From a coal mine which operated, over 60 years ago? The cost to correct that pollution is $2 million. And portions of our park were donated by very generous citizens, and we have wonderful citizens that donate their time at our parks. And let's not forget the taxpayers whose money helps to pay for the park. We don't need the money from frackers. Are we going to leave a legacy, as our forefathers did, that you can pollute and get away with it? Just say no. Listen to your citizens that voted you in. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you. That bring. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Can we move on to April Belisario?
Hi, my name is April Belisario. I'm from Cooper Lane, 4712 Cooper Lane, Murraysville, PA. I wasn't necessarily planning on coming up here to speak tonight, but I feel that it is so important to speak about. I have a 6-year-old son who just started kindergarten, and of course we utilize especially Murraysville Community Park all the time. He plays soccer for Massa, and as you know, that's held at the park. He plays there during the spring, he plays there during the fall, along with numerous amounts of children. And you're asking us to expose our kids to the fracking and the chemicals that we don't even know all the repercussions of. He also plays t-ball, and I know that most of the baseball in Murraysville eventually progresses to Murraysville Community Park. We go there during the summer, we go there for class parties, we go there for all sorts of things. And am I supposed to take my son out of sports? Am I supposed to take him out of soccer, or have to make that choice between potentially exposing him to these toxins? I don't want to have to make that choice, so that's why I'm here asking you to please vote no for this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Now, I believe the next individual is going to be reading a letter on behalf of a Murraysville resident, and I would just note that this resident has been at the past few meetings in regards to fracking, so council and the mayor thought this made sense. So, Mr. Mintz, if you would just also read the name and address of the letter writer.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm here representing my sister, Karen Kozich, who lives at 280 Jefferson Street in Murraysville. I personally am a Monroeville resident. And just to let you know, in the last month, Monroeville passed a comprehensive zoning ordinance. And in their foresight, they eliminated any new oil and gas activity anywhere in Monroeville except for our heavy industrial zone, including taking out language that was in the draft ordinance that would have allowed it in our conservancy zone. So that was all removed. We only allow it in Monroeville in our heavy industrial zone. So I just wanted to let you know that just happened.
Yep, thank
you. So my sister, I'm going to write, is named Karen Kozich, and I'm going to read her statement. I am writing today on behalf of my husband and myself, proud residents of Murraysville for 22 years. We are also the parents of 7 children raised in Murraysville and the grandparents of 2 very young children living in Murraysville. It is our hope and prayer that these 2 young children will be able to grow up healthy and strong in our beautiful suburban community, so blessed with green and uncontaminated surroundings. It is also our hope that many of our 7 children will choose to make their family homes in this community, as they are already making plans to do. Having grown up here, they are planning to return from as far away as Texas to take advantage of our amazing school district and the incredible babysitting when the time comes. Our daughter, now living in Texas, became engaged last week when her boyfriend proposed at Phipps Conservatory, and they began immediately to speak of these very plans for their own children. However, although that is breaking my heart, I cannot in full conscience advise them to do that at this time due to my research on the destructive powers of fracking in addition to the legal concerns. Please consider the inevitable light and air pollution and the frequently documented land and water pollution that the tax-paying citizens of Murraysville will be forced to endure. Then add to the pages of health concerns that I cited from the many National Health Institute studies citing increases in childhood cancer, heart attacks, and asthma attacks, as well as severe preterm birth and all of the life-threatening complications that come with preterm birth. These studies were conducted in the communities like ours where homes were located within 2 kilometers of fracking wells. If this fracking takes place in Murraysville, I will be forced to warn my children away from Murraysville as the community in which to raise my grandchildren due to all of these health concerns. And finally, as a final consequence of all of these environmental and health concerns, I will feel duty-bound to chase my children away in order to avoid the financial problems that will come with the lowering of all of our property value. The numerous visible well pads here and in surrounding communities and the fracking going on right under our feet will not exactly be something we will proclaim with pride when we list our houses with a real estate agent. When Murraysville becomes an industrial site that Olympus has cleverly built all around us, very few newcomers will be inclined to buy our homes, thus forcing us to sell cheap when we are ready to make our escape. I submit the proposal that we table this vote until there is more research done on the consequences of fracking within residential communities and until we have had time to make sure that all citizens of Murraysville are aware of the decision you are planning to make in their behalf. Thank you for your consideration and attention to this very important proposal at this time, Karen and Michael Kozich. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. That brings us to Meredith Junkowitz. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So at the last meeting, I spoke a lot about the
Can you say your name and address?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Meredith Junkowitz, 4715 Logan Ferry Road.
Thank you.
And at the last meeting, I spoke a lot about how important the parks were to my family and especially my children. And since then, I've had the opportunity to actually go out into our community and parks to talk with other Murraysville residents. So I was one of the local Murraysville resident volunteers that helped to collect the signatures that we received. And I was blown away by the positive responses that we received from people who also opposed fracking. Nearly every single person I talked to immediately signed our petition. And despite the short amount of time that we had, which was only a couple weeks and we were dodging rain and bad weather and holidays, we were able to gather almost 200 signatures of concerned residents. People that are worried for the health and safety of our children, people who are worried about ruining our natural resources, people who feel like this process has been rushed, and people who are frustrated that there wasn't even a public hearing to really hear more voices than just Olympus Energy. And it seems that this council might have had some concerns as well. At the end of the last month's meeting, Councilmember Ling asked some really great questions about water quality monitoring, seismic activity, past violations. And those questions didn't get the proper answers at the time, which just shows to me and others that there's a lot more that needs to be understood about this before rushing into the decision. You know, for example, related to water contamination, it was said that the DEP monitors water quality, and that simply isn't true. Most investigations by the DEP only happen after citizens file complaints, but by then the damage has already been done. There's more I could say on this and seismic activity and past violations, but my 3 allotted minutes won't allow for that. And anyways, you should be hearing this from experts. You should have a public hearing. You should be able to really, you know, be informed of all the risks at play here. And I get it. You know, running a borough and a park system is expensive. And I remember in last month's meeting, you talked about one of the parks getting some paving and getting some new fencing, and that's nice. But as some other people quoted, it's expensive. When we have fracking damage, the cost of fixing that is going to be much more expensive. Issues like groundwater contamination could even be permanent. So there are cleaner ways to raise money for our parks if money is the concern, and we really should be exploring those first. You know, obviously this is an area that supports fracking, but there's a big difference between what private property owners decide to do and the risks they decide to take on for their lands and what we do and choose to do with our public lands, especially lands that have been designated for recreation, for our kids, for saving ecosystems like Dove Park. And are you really willing to, you know, risk the potential damage and contamination of our parks that are densely populated with our children without even pausing and examining this further? Obviously, a lot of us want you to vote no tonight, but if you truly believe that you want to proceed with this, I just urge you all to at least hold off on the vote for tonight, at least have a public hearing, at least get some non-biased experts in to really understand and you know, at the minimum, provide an action plan for how we're going to prevent, how we're going to monitor, how we're going to mitigate damages to our parks. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Thank you very much. That brings us to Laura Vincetti.
Good evening. I'm Laura Vincenti. I live at 127 Ridge Lane here in Murraysville. I want to reiterate and thank everybody that's spoken before me because I checked a whole bunch of things off of my list. But I did want to follow up with what Meredith said about talking with people in the community and securing petition signatures. We barely got the words out of our mouth when it was like, give me it, I'm signing. But what also was alarming is the number of people that had no idea that this was going on fracking was going to be happening under the parks. This has been rushed along. In 2014, I just learned this, Murraysville Council voted not to lease Murraysville Community Park to Olympus for fracking. This is in 2014. Council at that time expressed grave concern about safety, about the bidder, and I'm not going to read for you all of what was said, but we can supply the article to you for you to read for yourself. They, at that time, council took 15 months to research, to consider, to seek public input, and don't community members much longer length of time than a few weeks, a month or two, to decide what is going to happen on our behalf. Also, in 2014, more than 430 petition signatures. We've had to work on this. We've secured to date 174 signatures. We know more are flowing in. We know that there are a couple more petitions floating around out there that haven't made their way back to us. And we urge two things: that you consider the 430, 2014 signatures and our nearly 200 as a demonstration of the community opinion. And I also reiterate what you've heard before. Please vote no tonight. Let's take some time. Let's think about this. Let's research. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, that brings us to Mr. Thomas A. Pike.
My name is Thomas Pike. I live at 4703 Stewart Court in Murraysville and have been there for over 35 years. At one time, I served on the Murraysville Parks and Recreation Commission. The past several speakers pretty much said everything I have to say, but since I wrote it down, I have 3 minutes, I'm going to say it anyway. So I have the petition with 174 signatures gathered by administration. A previous administration took 15 months of public meetings and planning before deciding not to lease the parkland. There's always a price to be paid for rushing. The vote was scheduled on October 18th meeting here for an advertisement for the entire land under Duff Park to be drilled. At that meeting, both the administration and residents brought up problems with a variety of the parcels and deeds comprising that park. Current plan, I believe, is to lease only 72 of the 220 acres in the park. That's quite a change. There are also mistakes in the current advertisement for the Duff Park lease listing parcels. That should not have been included. That's part of what the administrator mentioned earlier. It's just another error in the process that's happening. At the last council meeting, a deed was presented that showed that Murraysville natural gas rights at Kovalchik Park are questionable at best. Process is thoroughly being rushed through, obviously causing these inaccuracies and errors. Council and the administration are aware that all the money generated from these leases is required to be used in their respective parks, but I have not found any information detailing how the money will be spent. I attended the last meeting of the current Recreation Commission to see if they were informed of the sizable amount of money coming into the parks and if perhaps they had revised the comprehensive park plan and had a list of projects to the parks. And no, even the volunteer residents whose job it is to advise council on the issues dealing with the parks were not informed, and therefore there is no plan associated with the monies coming in. My advice is that Murraysville step back and first examine their process to ensure that enough time is given to do proper title searches and perform their due diligence before issuing new gas leases, and then go back and review the leases that have been already granted and verify their accuracy prior to signing any new leases. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay. That brings us to Mr. David King.
Hi, my name is David King. Move this up a bit. Address 5112 Hemlock Lane in Murraysville, and I'm a frequent user of Murraysville parks as well. I'm here to talk about the fracking proposal under our parks, why I oppose it, and why I actually think that Murraysville Council in the past has committed to opposing it too. So to do so while respecting everybody's time, I'll just list some points. And for the record, I'm also not opposed to fossil fuel use or extraction. I just think it should never be done in parks. My points are as follows. Duff Park contains a rare suburban old-growth forest that's part of the Old Growth Forest Network. Duff Park is a DCNR-designated wild plant sanctuary as well. The Murraysville Park's mission statement from the 2011 Comprehensive Plan states that the mission of Murraysville Parks and Recreation System is to conserve our natural resources, connect people with nature, and provide high-quality recreational opportunities. The 2020 Duff Park Stewardship Plan recommends preventing impairment of Duff Park's resources and value, and to pass on to future generations an improved natural, cultural, and physical resource. In that plan, this is listed as goal number 1. And all the other goals of the plan are actually subject to goal number 1. Goal number 2, to utilize the parks, should only be done in a manner that is compatible with goal number 1 according to the plan. Industrial activity, whether it be subsurface or on the surface, is not mentioned anywhere in the plan. I also ask that you honor the recommendations on page 150 of the Park Comprehensive Plan, which urges that Murraysville minimize hazardous waste and, crucially, protect natural conditions to the greatest extent possible. So I hope these commitments from the past can be honored today. Then finally, just kind of as an aside, I've heard the argument made, don't know how legit it is or not, but that if Murraysville doesn't lease the land under the parks, that the gas will still be extracted anyway because we can't see what's happening underground, and then Murraysville won't get any money, but the fracking will also happen too. Worst of both worlds. But the question that raises for me is just simply, does that mean that council does not have full control over what happens in our municipality? I think that's a worthwhile question. Anyway, don't give a corporation control of our town or our parks. We didn't, and we would not vote for them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to Mr. Alan Martin, I think it is.
Hello, good evening. Alan Martin, 4740 Stardust Road, Murraysville. I've got a slightly different take, but with the same universal concern of the environment. I am for fracking. I believe oil and gas is a great benefit to everyone in this community and can use it. But I do have concern about how it's extracted, its processes, and the company's guidelines are given by municipality. I believe those need to be scrutinized. I believe those need to be carefully examined to make sure that the environment around the parks is as clean as possible, as these people had said, for their children and for themselves for the foreseeable future. So I do bring those concerns. I've seen, I am an oil and gas worker myself. I've seen good sites, I've seen bad ones. So my request to you guys is let's make this a good one that is great for the environment and also beneficial for the town of Murraysville. Second, I want to bring up a concern that the council, I believe, was going to table or non-regulate the rental properties in Murraysville. I think that's a good idea. I applaud the council's decision to do so. And then third, with the first gentleman that spoke with the Haymaker Creek issue, as I drive by there almost every day, it has been an ongoing concern. for the municipality, and I can only sympathize very minutely with those people that live down there that are dealing with that issue. So I would ask the council would be cognizant of that and come to some agreement of some action. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the next resident on the list is Tina Zins.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tina Zins, 6468 Lindsay Lane, and that's export 15632. And I'm here to express my concern about fracking in our community for the health and safety of our residents. I do hope that you will not allow fracking to take place at our parks or anywhere else in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else is signed up who is a resident, so right now I'm going to ask for the good of the order. Is there anyone here who is a Murraysville resident who hasn't spoken yet that would like to speak? Okay. Well, can you say it into the mic, please, just so, yeah. And just state.
My name is Joanne DiRinaldo. I live in 1037 Lexington Drive. I just have a question. Sure. What would it take? I mean, there's an overwhelming response from the community that we do not want this to go forward. So what would it take for council to reconsider? That's the question I'd like to have answered.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. We'll get to that when we get to the agenda item. Okay, I believe I saw one other hand. Sir, would you like to come to the mic?
Okay, my name is Gerard Schreiber. I live at 5211 School Road South. This is my first time at one of your meetings. This about the fracking. As they pointed out, very few people in the community are aware of what you're pushing through here, and I think it's inconsiderate of the community that they don't have more input. Like the other gentleman said, there's a difference between, fracking on somebody's private land and public land. And it's overwhelming here. The public doesn't want this. I don't know how many bids you got on this, but what I've read in the paper, you only had one bid. And it seemed like you're selling the Murraysville sold pretty cheap at $500,000 for Duff Park. I mean, one spill, one accident, you're going to have 10 times that much just cleaning it up. Like I said, I don't know how long you've been pondering this decision, but it's unfair to the community to rush through on this thing. If it's that lucrative for everybody involved, why aren't there other companies bidding on this? It just doesn't seem like, much like a leaking well, this whole thing stinks. And that's all I'd like to say. And I hope that we can have further discussion on this as this goes on, because this is not something you rush into. Because if you make a mistake, you will ruin this municipality. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. I believe that's everyone, so we will move on to liaison comments and committee reports. Let's start at this end. Jason?
Okay, so the library met the third Wednesday or Thursday of November. They're working through some finances and fundraising, restructuring some healthcare potentially, and also applying for looking at some grants to source some funding. The programming numbers are steady and up. They had their most recent Jingles and Gingerbread, which is the largest attended event, and I heard that was very successful. And the last point is the library will need a board member in 2024. So if anyone's interested, please contact me or the municipality or the library. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Carl?
The Parks and Recreation Foundation met on November 20th. Just to start off with the financials, there's a balance of $99,161. As far as projects, of course, pickleball is the focus right now. What was discussed was possible locations for pickleball courts, and it would not be singular. It would be space for 4 or more courts. What was mentioned was in an area around the old municipal building on School Road South was one possibility. Royal Highlands was another. And the third one was Field 6 of the Murraysville Community Park. In addition to the pickleball, it was also discussed that it may be a good idea as a fundraiser to have a 5K run sponsored by the foundation. We are continuing to search for board members, and the next meeting is on January 8th in the municipal building. Separately, the Planning Commission is meeting next week, next Tuesday.
Awesome, thank you. Tony?
I missed the last meeting, I was out of town.
Okay. Jamie Lee?
We haven't met again, so nothing new to report.
Okay. Jamie Lee?
I missed the last meeting on November 20th. I was transporting my kid home for Thanksgiving vacation. So the next meeting is January 22nd for school board.
Thank you. Matt?
Parks and Recreation, really the only thing is the Stand at Sardis. That's the last event of the year, which was already brought up. The only one thing we wanted to mention is we'd had a few people had mentioned at MCP, if community members take their pets to the park, just please be cognizant of cleaning up after them. We had some people that were over the Thanksgiving holiday, went up to play some turkey bowl, and there was some dog droppings on the field. So we just want to make sure, that shouldn't be the case. There's dog parks for that, so just please be cognizant of it. That's all.
Absolutely, thank you. That brings us to our workshop items this evening, and we are going to begin with a discussion of the 2024 council meeting dates. So, Mr. Nestico?
Yes. Council will need to decide upon a reorganization date. It appears that Tuesday, January 2nd would be the most likely date. I think that I haven't heard from anyone regarding the inavailability to meet that date. That meeting date would also comply with the Home Rule Charter. So if council would like to set that date as the reorganization meeting, we would then advertise in the newspaper and notify the community of that date. Going forward, we will need to set dates for the next calendar year. However, because there will be a change in council, 2 new council members coming on, the decision is up to council on whether you would like to set those dates now or whether you'd like to wait until the reorganization meeting and then set the remainder of the dates for the year at that time.
Well, let's do it one at a time. So is everyone on council and the mayor okay with January 2nd, Tuesday, January 2nd at 7 p.m.? That works for everyone? Easy enough. And then I'll kind of jump to the front of the next one. I think we should wait till the reorganization meeting. Obviously, there's going to be people we'll need to coordinate with, so we can figure out the perfect plan tonight, and then it all has to change. So. Okay.
It works for me. We will advertise January 2nd and go from there.
That brings us to our council action items. And Michael, I believe this was one that you needed to help us out with.
That's correct. So should council wish to make a motion on this item, I can display it on the screen. There was an administrative error by copying and pasting from a previous agenda that had incorrect parcel numbers and acreage for this item.
Okay, that brings us to council action item 13A. As stated by Mr. Nestico, if anyone wants to make a motion for 13A in any regard, please just make sure you use the language that's on the screen there and on your computer monitors. So with that being said, would anyone like to make a motion for 13A?
I'd like to make a motion to advertise ordinance number 1.
Oh, it's adopt.
We adopt.
Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
Copying and pasting, getting the best of me here.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1077-23, an ordinance accepting a lease for oil and gas rights for approximately 74.2925 acres of municipally owned property, Duff Park, at tax map numbers 49-1-49-14-00-0-071, 59.918 acres.
Yeah, 54.
54. This is just really big, sorry. 49-14-00-0-168, 16.5969 acres. 49-14-00-0-135, 2.548 acres, and 49-14-00-0-138, 0.2296 acres.
Second. Thank you, Jason and Mac. Obviously, there's a lot to go over here. I guess I'd ask Mr. Nestico, Wes, is there anything you'd like to just set us up for? Or if you'd like, we can just dive right into council. I just didn't want to cut either of you guys off if there's any preamble you want to give.
Well, no, I would just remind council that the lease under Duff Park is for the Utica Shale. The Marcellus Shale under Duff Park cannot be developed because of a fracture. So this is for the Utica Shale, and it is my understanding that the access or the site is off the Poseidon well site in Penn Township. So there would not be a new pad nor site constructed in connection with any of the development or the unconventional drilling of the oil and gas.
Okay. Thanks, Wes, and again, thanks for your knowledge on this. You do a lot of oil and gas work, which is just, it's a resource to have. So with that being said, it looks like now council, if anyone would like to go first, please jump in.
I'm just going to speak up to say that I'll be recusing myself, staying out of the discussion and the vote because my husband represents the driller.
Okay. So duly noted for the minutes. Council, anyone else? Thoughts?
Yeah, I guess quite a few items, quite frankly. One, hearing the input from the community, I think as far as being rushed, I don't know that it's actually being rushed, but we'll leave that, alone, if you will. I do know that there was a lot of, mention has been in the past, the previous council, 12 or 15 months, whatever it was, and you do learn from that, meaning you don't necessarily have to take 15 months every time. So that's, I think, something that should be said. Also, there was a considerable discussion and litigation, if you will, for drilling, if you will, on private land here over the last 8 months to 24 months. And the decision was to allow, if you will, drilling of the Titan pad, the Titan well located in Murraysville. Admittedly, that's on private land, or is and was on private land. Also, I think it has to be mentioned that the Department of Environmental Protection is, if you will, I don't know, the depths of fracking and its good points and its bad points, economic and otherwise. DEP, of course, is concerned, I would think, primarily with safety, and the DEP for the Titan well, as an example, had said, well, they're meeting all the requirements. So that's something to be understood, and we pay, if you will, or the state government is set up to have a DEP, and that should be considered. The Environmental Advisory Committee for Murraysville indicated that they would like to see a public hearing. And that's something I would take into consideration as well. That, and I think a lot of that was based on what was made notice to all of us was in Allegheny County, there was a bad situation, if you will, where they found oil slicks and so on and so forth. I think that's probably an outlier, but the fact that they, in their opinion, our advisory committee said, let's take a look at this, you know, I'm thinking about that. The idea that I think our solicitor, Wes, has mentioned, we're not talking about drilling on a well pad on community land, the parks. We're talking about subsurface. And many of you know, but some may not, but we're talking with the Utica strata in the Duff Park, and that you're going down 10,000 feet. So I think that there's a lot to be said. The likelihood of affecting groundwater would be diminished by the fact that you're going so deep. You know, one comment was made about there was only one bidder. Well, we opened it, and you know, we didn't restrict the bidding. It was open to anybody who would. There's good reasons why there was only one bidding. It cost a lot of money from the producers to do this. And Olympus happened to be both the Poseidon well in Penn Township and the Titan well here in Murraysville, which would be having a horizontal drilling, if you will, done under Murraysville Community Park. Quite frankly, they were the only ones who could do it effectively or economically, if you will. And I'd say on this, I know comments were made by whomever about possibly considering this a little further and tabling it. And on my mind, there seems to be, and also that they have a pretty good handful, I say a handful. You could look at the statistics and say, well, we have 200 people in the community of 20,000 who have signed a petition. You could say, ooh, that's a pretty small portion. But by the same token, when 200 people sign a petition, that generally means there's 1,000 or 1,500 who are in support of that idea. And I think also some people just are not aware. Based on all this and my long dissertation here, yeah, I'm for putting a hold on this to at least, let's wait and take a little closer look.
Okay, thank you. So Carl's kind of stated where he's at. He would probably entertain a motion to table. Anyone else? Thoughts?
Can I
absolutely.
piggyback off of
Yeah.
Carl there? And you know, for me, I think fracking's here, right? We have it all around us. Murraysville. We've toured. Some of us have toured the Olympus Titan pad, and I believe they've even invited folks that were against fracking to tour that as well, from what I understand. So we've seen the operation. For me, like Carl said, the DEP is the governing body over whether this is safe or not, right? We got to have a public hearing and have non-biased experts, but we're going to have biased experts from Olympus, and we're going to have biased experts from the opposing. So to me, the DEP is the deciding factor. Also, we're talking about parks, but there is a lot of fracking that's gone on for a long time under our water supply, right? And they've even had a Beaver Run Reservoir. They've had a pretty decent incident in 2017 where they monitored the water and the air around there during that incident. And all throughout that, we still drank the water. It was deemed safe, right? So we're talking about a park versus our water supply that services 120,000 customers. I would have thought the DEP would have stepped in and just stopped it right there if it were a problem.
That it?
That's all right. Anything else?
No, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say one thing.
Yeah.
I feel for the people of Murraysville, you know, and I think they have a lot of concerns. They're worried about this. If it happens now, they'll never agree to it. So maybe we should hold it for a while, table it, let everybody think about it, have meetings. Marysville, they're our boss. And maybe we should start listening to them a little bit more when they speak up. I know there's only a couple of hundred signatures, but like they said, there's a lot of people who are unaware of what's going on right now. So let's give everybody a chance to.
Jamie, Mac?
Want me to go? Okay. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and sharing all of your concerns and your feelings today. It's good to see the community be involved and let us know what you're thinking. And I see from our last meeting, a lot of the same concerns were brought up. I see that the 807 violations, which when looking into them, they were almost exclusively administrative violations, so they weren't actually environmental violations, so there was nothing that was actually harming the public in any way. They were things like a shrub wasn't planted where it should have been planted on the location, so they were cited and had a violation. So those would be like clerical or administrative violations. So that was brought up. Also the talk about the industrialization of the parks. And I think for, just for clarity's sake, I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that this is not a well pad that is being put in the park. It is an extraction process. So when I went on to, just now, I don't know if you could hear me typing out there or not, I went on to fractrackeralliance.com. And it monitors sites that are contaminated by oil and gas spills. And exclusively, every single one of those was at the well pad site and not at any extraction site. So the well pad that is being considered is in Penn Township. It is actually not in Murraysville. So just to clarify that. And for people that sign the petition, which I think it's great, I think petitions are an awesome thing. But I think it's also important when somebody is signing a petition that they understand exactly what is going on. Some people just hear the word fracking and I'm just against fracking. And I'm with, I believe it was Mr. King that came up here. Am I correct? You're in the oil, I'm saying, nope, the Browns. Okay, sorry. Wrong name I had written down here. The guy in the far back who is in the oil industry, I'm with him. I am pro-fracking. I also want it to be done safely. I want it so that our community is safe and protected. I have 4 children. My son uses Boy Scout Knob all the time, which is right across from MCP. But I hear a lot of other things up here that make a lot of sense, like what Jason was saying. If we're drilling on private land and we're under our water supply, which feeds the whole community as opposed to just the park, well, shouldn't that be a little bit more concerning than the parks themselves? So for, you know, okay, so.
Hold on, everybody. Okay. Ms.
Okay,
Knight, hold
just
on.
okay.
No, go on,
Can
Ms.
I, oh,
Knight, yeah.
I thought you were telling me to hold on.
No.
So my point is, like Jason was saying, we could have, there really are no non-biased speakers that are going to be coming in here and talking. Everyone that's going to come in is going to have an agenda. The Olympus people are going to tell you why you should have it. The Protect PT people and the environment, you know, the other organization you're talking about are going to talk about why you shouldn't have it. So these are things we just have to weigh. And these are hard decisions to make. I don't think any one of us up here takes anything lightly. We all have a vested interest in this community, and we want to keep it safe for everybody that lives here. So, you know, it is. It's a hard thing to be up here in this seat and to make these kinds of decisions. And just so you know, we do weigh what you say, and we do take it all into consideration. Some of the things I did not know about the 2014 decisions, so I was up here researching that. Thank you for bringing that, you know, to our attention. But that was also, I don't believe that was about extraction. That was about something else. So it's a little bit like apples and oranges as far as that decision was concerned. So I personally don't think having another public hearing, we've had several, the concern was also raised that people in the community don't know know about this. It's been put in the paper many, many times. It's on YouTube. The meetings are all on YouTube. People are only as involved in the community as they want to be, unfortunately. It's been in the paper. You know, like, you can't make people know about things unless you go out and you talk to them about it. That's definitely, you know, one way to do it. But people have to be more involved in their local government, like you guys all are here, coming out and telling us what you think. You can't make people care all the time and to want to know what is going on. Unfortunately, I wish everybody would read the paper and listen to what's going on and give us feedback on what we're doing. There have been lots of things that we have brought up here within the past 2 years that I've been on council that it would have been nice to have more public input. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out tonight. I am not in favor of tabling this. I think there's been enough discussion, and I'm ready to vote. So.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
Yeah, I'll make a couple of comments. I too, as Jamie said, I'd like to thank the citizens that come here. Like she had said, a lot of people choose to not be involved and know what's happening in the community. And we certainly appreciate your view, no matter what it is, whether it's in agreement with it or not in agreement with it. We do weigh those a lot on the decisions that we make. You know, we all live here as well. I have 2 children. You know, I would never want to do anything unsafe to them. As far as the rushing of this through, I don't think that's a fair statement. There's been a lot of discussion amongst the staff, meetings with Olympus, meetings with other people in regards to this, across the board with multiple council members, the staff, our chief administrator, the mayor. Wes obviously has been instrumental in it because he's very knowledgeable in this environment. And so I think there has been a lot of hard look at it. Another thing that was brought up was Olympus Energy's violations, and Jamie kind of already hit on it. Almost exclusively all of those were administrative, as she said, the majority of them. The majority of them were administrative mishaps. So, but the one thing that Olympus Energy has done, and a lot of the community doesn't see that, is in us working with them on that Titan well pad that they have, every single thing that we've ever gone to Olympus with and asked, whether it be at that site or anything that the community, that the municipality has requested, they have gone above and beyond in trying to do that. So I just want to give fair balance. You know, I try and take fair balance on everything and weigh all sides. I've been involved with them on the hauling of trucks and some things with other community members, and we've asked them to, you know, do certain things and change certain things within their organization, and they have done that. So I will give them credit on that. But I also feel that, you know, tabling this, I think there's been a lot of discussion around it. A lot of facts have come out. I've listened to both sides. Mr. Pike had requested for a meeting, and I sat and met with him for a long time and listened to everything on that side of things. And, you know, I learned a lot from it, and I think that it helps in weighing those decisions. So, but I am also for voting on this tonight.
Okay, wonderful. So I guess at this point what I'll ask is, Tony, Carl, you would entertain a vote to table. So, I mean, Jason, is that something you would entertain or no? Prefer to vote?
I'd prefer to vote tonight.
Okay, wonderful. You know, at this point, it would be redundant of me to say anything more. I'll echo the sentiments of Ms. Ling and Mr. McKenna. So is there any final comment from council? Okay, hearing none. Verdale, I'm going to ask that you do a roll call vote on this one, please.
Mr. McKenna?
Yes.
Mr. Stepanovich?
No.
Mrs. Ling?
Yes.
Mr. Lemak?
Yes.
Dr. Lee Corns?
No, she's not voting. She's abstaining.
Mr. Dice?
Yes.
Mr. Spadero?
No.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to 13B. Mr. Nestico, are there any corrections on 13B?
No, there are not.
Okay. Can I have a motion for 13B?
Make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1082-23, an ordinance accepting a lease for oil and gas rights for approximately 305.9 acres of municipally owned property, Murraysville Community Park, at tax map numbers 49-07-00-0-066, 260 acres, and 49-11-00-0-103, 45.9 acres.
Second.
Thank you, Jamie and Jason. I think we've already had a discussion on this. Would there be any further comment before I ask for a roll call vote? Hearing none, Verdale, could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. McKenna?
Yes.
Mr. Stepanovich?
No.
Mrs. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Lemak?
Yes.
Dr. Lee Corns?
Abstain?
Mr. Dice?
Yes.
Mr. Spadero?
No.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. That brings us to 13C. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the Westmoreland County Transit Authority local share assessment in the amount of $1,375.50 for the fiscal year 2023.
Okay. Come on, everybody.
Every single person here spoke against that. And you say you listen to our voices, but we all, no one spoke for it. No one spoke for it.
Okay, everybody. Nah, discussion's done. Sorry.
We don't get to discuss back after you, though.
Hmm?
You get to say something and then we can't say anything back.
I understand. Okay, I believe Ms. Ling.
I'm gonna finish the last 2023 to 2024.
Okay, so there's been a motion for 13C. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Jamie and Tony. Mr. Nestico, you want to just give us a brief rundown?
Sure. This is the local transit authority agreement that we agree to annually.
Yep. Thanks, Jim. Mike, what were you saying?
Thank you. Sorry, I was just making sure that it was, everybody could hear me. This is an annual agreement with the Transit Authority. The authority provides one route through the community and services roughly 110 riders. This is the local share amount is $1375.50 for the next fiscal year.
Okay, pretty straightforward. Questions or concerns about the Transit Authority?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13C is unanimous. That brings us to 13D. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to adopt ordinance number 1080-23, the 2024 tax ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, Jamie and Tony. Mr. Nestico, anything to, obviously we've talked about this, but.
Yes, and Wes may be able to discuss it a bit better, but I don't want to put him on the spot. This is regarding unacceptable sanitary sewage.
No, we're on E,
Oh, I apologize.
13E.
Wait,
Tax ordinance?
Oh,
wait, you skipped D.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Can do
sorry.
that one.
Which,
I thought Jamie
on
was
E?
shortening it.
Yeah.
Meeting's long, I'm making it
we already have a
shorter.
motion for
Yeah.
E. I can.
Sorry, my bad.
We have a motion for E. That's my mistake, everybody.
That was E, that was the motion for E. We need a motion for
problem.
D.
Let's finish E.
We have a
Oh,
motion
oh,
for
okay,
E,
good call.
so let's just do E, and then we'll do D. And that's, I'm a little distracted, I apologize. Okay,
I
so,
won't put Wes on the spot for this one. This is our 2024 tax ordinance. The millage remains the same within the municipality for the year 2024. If there are any questions, certainly I'd be willing to answer and assist the council.
questions or concerns about 13E? Again, this is the tax ordinance. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. It is unanimous. And now I'm going to ask for a motion for 13D.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1083-23, an ordinance of the Municipality of Murraysville, Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, amending Municipality of Murraysville Ordinance number 1025-20 regarding unacceptable sanitary sewage.
Second.
Thank you, Mac and Jamie. Wes, you probably could explain this better than
Yes. If you recall at the last meeting, this amendment, I believe, is necessary to better support the FTMSA FOG program, which is the fats, oils, and grease program to prevent the clogging of the public sanitary sewer lines. The existing ordinance says it's prohibited to put I&I into the public sanitary sewer system, but it does not prohibit specifically other substances and articles such as rags and things of that sort, industrial rags and things of that sort from getting into the sewer. So this is just to amend the ordinance to better enable FTMSA to pursue violators for depositing unacceptable things into the public sewage system.
Yep, absolutely. And again, this is mainly geared toward businesses, as I think you were alluding to. It's,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Restaurants, industrial sites, things of that sort.
Absolutely. So with that being said, any questions or concerns?
So what impact, so that would mean a restaurant that exists in Murraysville would have to go through some testing, or?
They would have to, it hasn't been fully developed yet, Mr. Lemack, from the FTMSA perspective, but they are going to put together a questionnaire that will be sent to commercial establishments to try to ascertain, whether they have deep frying capabilities, grease traps, and things of that sort, what they do to clean those on a regular basis to ensure that the lines do not get clogged. The cammering from as part of the consent order that I think we're all familiar with, has shown extreme clogging and compromising as a result of particularly fats, oils, and greases from commercial establishment getting into the sewer lines because they solidify. Okay? But it has nothing to do with residential properties.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, other questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. It is unanimous. That brings us to 13F, back on track.
Adopt an ordinance number 1081-23, the 2024 salary ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, Carl and Jamie. Michael?
Yes, the 2024 salary ordinance establishes the salary ranges for employees, both union and non-union. Union employees' salaries are set by union agreements with the Public Works Department and also the Police Department. We are currently in negotiations with the Police Department, I think close to reaching an agreement prior to 2024. Salary increases will be based upon the cost of living amount of 3.2%. That is the entirety of the salary ordinance for 2024.
Okay. Questions or concerns from council?
No.
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. It is unanimous. That brings us to 13G. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 783-23, the operating budget for the 2024 calendar year.
Second.
Thank you, Mac, and which Jamie was that? Thank you, Jamie Lee Corns. Michael?
Yes, the budget was presented via public hearing on November 1st. It is required to be adopted by council by December 31st of the fiscal year. For the 2024 operating budget, no changes have taken place since the public hearing held before council.
Okay. Questions or concerns about the final operating budget resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. It is unanimous. That brings us to community development. Can I have a motion for 14A, please?
Motion to consider approval of site plan 3-23 Choice Properties, 5690 William Penn Highway. B, business zoning for an addition and existing building at 5690 William Penn Highway, tax parcel 49-15-00-187B business zoning.
Second.
Thank you, Carl and Tony. Michael? No, Jim. There we go. How's it going?
In a while, I might be out of practice here. Choice Properties, Sunoco at the intersection of Berlin Farm and Route 22 is proposing to put an addition on their building for a beer distributor. It went through planning for review. There was questions raised about parking requirements. Due to the limitations of the property, the location of the addition could not generate parking spaces to meet the full requirement of the ordinance as we typically know parking spaces. They proposed to designate 2 of the parking stalls to be used at the parking or at the gas pumps. So that was at issue as it went through the process. The Planning Commission evaluated that. There's no specific definition in the ordinance identifying a parking space other than a designated area for parking. The loading zone was brought up, but the current loading zone for delivery of pop and other materials to the Sunoco facility is the area that they would use for the loading zone of the beer distributor. I would suggest that in considering the motion, if council would add the conditions as outlined in the briefing and have the applicant accept those conditions. Mr. Patton is here to represent Sunoco Properties this evening.
Wonderful. Mr. Patton, do you have anything to add?
No, I do not. I think Jim did a great job.
Oh, okay. Council, questions or concerns of Jim or Mr. Patton?
Dane, I'd just like to say I'm going to abstain from voting on this, being that my family owns Rouge Brews and direct conflict of interest.
Yep, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so Mr. McKenna will be abstaining. Any other questions or concerns?
Do we need to amend the motion to
Yeah,
subject to the conditions?
Absolutely. I want to make sure that we were ready to roll. But, okay, so the first thing would be, will someone please make a motion to amend the motion on the floor to include the conditions in the staff briefing?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the ordinance in the, on the agenda to include the conditions in the staff briefing.
Thank you. So there's a motion, second by Mr. Stepanovich. All in favor of amending the motion on the floor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. It's unanimous. So now the motion on the floor is inclusive of the conditions in the staff briefing, and we would ask Mr. Patton, are you okay with those conditions?
We accept them.
Okay, wonderful. With that being said, any final questions or concerns before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
I abstain.
Yep, 6-0 with Mr. McKenna abstaining. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, that brings us to 14B. Can I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1076-23, an ordinance adding chapter 219 to the Code of the Municipality of Murraysville to regulate short-term rental units within the municipality and to establish penalties for violations.
I would second that, but in looking at the short-term ordinance as it's written, the correction to section 219-2 scope, letter C was never changed. Either the word only removed or entirely strike letter C.
Is that in the support documents?
Yes.
Okay.
We raised a lot, so I'll amend my motion to include adopting the ordinance with the addition of striking the word only from the scope section, item C.
I would second.
Okay, so now there's been a motion and a second to the adoption of ordinance number 1076-23. And what that would do is it would make that one small correction. So everyone in favor of making that one small correction, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion on the floor has been amended. Are there any other questions or concerns? Okay.
I guess I would say I am going to be voting for this. I would say, though, that I see when you have 24 rentals in a month, to me, that's conducting a business. And that's all I'll say.
Understood. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns from council before we vote? Hearing none, I think we should do a roll call for this one. Verdale, please.
Mr. McKenna?
Yes.
Mr. Stepanovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Lemak?
Yes.
Dr. Lee Corns?
Yes.
Mr. Dice?
Yes.
Mr. Spadero?
Well, I've been against this since it started, so no.
Okay, motion passes 6-1. Thank you, Verdale. That brings us, does anyone have any old business this evening?
I'll ask Wes, the gentleman that was here in regards to the FTMSA.
Mr. Wolf.
Yes, he's been here multiple times. Like, do we know the status of that? What's being done? What's happening there? It's just kind of, I haven't really heard much about it, and you know, I've heard from other people in Heather Highlands the concerns of that.
Yes.
So, just wanted to see the status of it.
McKenna, they have been repairing and improving the main trunk line going down Haymaker Run. They found it not necessary to excavate and replace the entire line after doing cammering and other inspection. I believe there's about 1,500 feet of the line that they have decided that they could repair by relining the line, and they do believe that that repair will be adequate. Now, there's still repairs that need to be made in the form of inflow and infiltration from residential properties that feed into that line, but that process is ongoing. I think the best thing for folks such as Mr. Wolf to do will be come to the FTMSA public meetings where they can get detail beyond their wildest imagination as to what exactly the staff is doing to the improvement of the sewer line down Haymaker Run. The next meeting of FTMSA is the December 21st at 6 o'clock p.m. at the FTMSA treatment facility down on Meadowbrook Road. It doesn't make any sense for Mr. Wolf to come here,
Right.
for me then to go to the FTMSA meeting because I don't know all the questions he has, and I have to ascertain the information from FTMSA and then report it back here when he comes. But I do know that I made inquiry, and that's currently what the plan is.
Okay, so we'll make sure to follow up.
Yeah,
with
maybe
Mr.
we can get, maybe we can, I don't know if we have contact information for him, but maybe we can.
We do, and in
Get it.
fact, the municipality's also been trying to work with him as well on some of the issues there that are not related to FTMSA.
On the
So-
creek thing and everything.
Correct. So we've been trying to work through some of his issues. I would agree with Wes, and we do have his contact information. We
Yeah, maybe we can let him know that meeting, because he brings up good points. He's been here a few times, so I think, you know, but if he's talking at the wrong, side, you know, there's nothing really we can answer on that, so, yeah, I think that'd be the best avenue.
But I agree as well. I definitely want to follow up with him because he's been having issues with that sewer for a while, so just to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, any new business from anyone this evening? Okay. It would appear we only have one more item on the agenda, which is an executive session to discuss a legal matter, I believe actually a collective bargaining issue as well. There will be no action coming out of that executive session. So at this point, I would request a motion to adjourn to executive session, please.
Motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second the motion?
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.